Hey, this is Will Wheaton, and you're listening to Roll for Initiative.
Correctly with the correct amount.
D20 Radio, where gamers roll.
www.d20radio.com.
Roll for Initiative.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the RFI Podcast, Roll for Initiative Podcast, issue number 27. I'm sitting here with my two co-hosts, Jason and Nick. Nick, how are you doing today in this nice, cool weather we got so far?
Hard, nice and cool. Yeah, nice and cool, compared to the sun? But I'm doing fine. Everything's doing okay.
Hey, we got 70-degree weather here, almost lower than 70. It's like 68 right around here in Pennsylvania.
Lucky.
Is that a cold snap?
And Jason is sitting here as always. Jason, how are you this week?
Let's see. Hold on. I saved versus Death Magic. The heat doesn't affect me.
Okay, great. Jason has saved. And as you heard the mysterious woman voice in the background, a girl! We have Julie.
My goodness!
We have the infamous Julie Hoverson from Writing Past and audio drama specialist. Julie, how are you?
I'm doing fine. We've got it hot over here in Seattle for a few days. We can't whine, though, anymore. I mean, we never get heat.
Yeah.
You know, so for us it's like, oh, it's 80 degrees, oh, we're dying. But right now it's 90 or something.
Ooh, that is hot for up there.
Yeah, I know. Yes. People were crying over there. Oh, it's so rainy and it's not hot. Now you got the hot weather and they're like, it's so hot. So there you go.
Well, all our gills are starting to crust over.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, let's get on to the topics at hand. RFIpodcast.com. We have a lot of activity going on there at the site, people commenting left and right. Jason, we were handling some problems with issue number 7 some people were having problems with, and you resolved that, right?
Yeah, so I'll put a link up. Basically, there's always a little bit of a problem with something isn't playing right on the site or something, so you can go to rollforinitiative.libsyn.com. That's LIBSYN.com. It's short for Liberated Syndication, who hosts our technical host. Mm-hmm. And I'll put the link up because if you ever have trouble getting one of the shows through us, they're all there. They're all archived. You can always go and download them directly from that page.
Yeah, so. You can click that basic vanilla. I think you put that icon up there on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and that'll take you there. So
definitely.
They are all available, but if anybody has a problem, I know Sieg had a little trouble with one of them, just whatever you can do when you're emailing us, try to give us enough details that we can reproduce the problem, because it breaks my heart if somebody can't hear a show. And I sound sarcastic, but I'm kind of serious. So
no, it does.
I only sound sarcastic because I'm so close to Brooklyn, and everything I say comes out sarcastic.
And I'd also like to take a moment to introduce our producer on the show, sitting in the background quietly, Matt. If he wants to unmute himself and say hello, he'll be handling some technical work in the background for us, and we want to give credit where credit is due. Right, Jason?
Yeah, so this is our first time having a real proper producer, so hopefully our show quality will improve notably from these times when I've been handling the producer duties. So thank you, Matt. I don't know, are you on right now?
I am on right now. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be aboard, so let's make this a great show.
Definitely. Okay, and
get that man a T-shirt. Oh, wait a minute.
He has a T-shirt.
That's right.
I thought that was the uniform for all gamers. Any T-shirt. You want a specific T-shirt? Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that. Articles. From what I was seeing on the website, I know DM Ronald, I'm not going to say his last name because he didn't give me permission to, but he was writing an article about Vecna's history, and it's in the draft mode right now. So.
Okay, yeah, it's almost up.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of good things because we've got Ron putting up some new stuff, and then we have Bill putting up the tetrahedral.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but I just remember the old head of Vecna.
Oh, yeah.
The Knights at the dinner table, yes.
I'll shut up. I give you my laughter.
Everybody's going to think they're listening to Car Talk.
Yeah.
So we've got PC Buzz has a really cool new world up here called Tetrahedral. So you've seen flat worlds and you've seen round worlds. Have you ever seen a four-sided world? So that's up now. And, the Vecna stuff is going to be going up. And, of course, we have the latest +2 to save, which is, damn it, DM, I'm a cleric, not a first aid kit.
Damn it, Jim.
Yeah, so really good things. And, of course, you can go on to the site right now and click on the Gen Con special dispatches. There are 15 mini podcasts up there that you can pull down one at a time or just listen to all in a row if you use the little flash player that's embedded. They should be showing up in your feed, so if they're not showing up on your iPod or your Zune or whatever it is that you catch podcasts with, maybe your Droid, then you can follow the instructions we gave you before. But 15 little mini podcasts, all recorded live at Gen Con, just to give everybody a little flavor of the show if they didn't get a chance to go, or to relive it if they did.
Yeah, definitely. You can listen to Jason tricking me into getting jailed almost. So
it's good to listen to on the way up the elevator to work.
There you go.
Definitely.
Don't have time for an entire commute? Try one of our mini podcasts.
There you go.
There we go. Sounds
and zero
perfect.
trans fats.
Oh, boy. Anyway, pimping for stars. Nick, you said you took a peek over there and we have 2 new reviews with stars.
Yes, I do over there at iTunes, where I took a quick peek, and we had 2 new reviews.
Really?
Earlier this week, one from Get to Joe, and he gave us 5 stars, and he said fun and informative, and he says great podcast, reminds me of how much fun D&D was, and has got me back into gaming with pencil and paper and off the PC.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Way to go, Joe.
I like that. Yes. And we got one from Lion9492, and he says well done, another 5 stars. And what he says, this is an excellent podcast covering first edition D&D. I'm really impressed with the enthusiasm, professionalism, and recording quality of this podcast. Who is he listening to?
I was going to say, he must be listening to the wrong show. People check the name of the show
professional.
Hey, I'm professional, all right, pal?
A professional what?
We can't say that because this is a G-rated podcast, all right?
PG-13, whatever it may be. But yeah, those are off iTunes. And you know what? I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but Jason, didn't you post over on the Facebook page that just a couple of weeks ago we had over 20,000 downloads?
That was a couple of weeks ago. We have actually I was going to mention this. Thanks you for reminding me. We've now hit 30,000. We have just hit 30,000.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, well, Gen Con was a big boost. A lot of people, we were handing out the flyers to people. Not officially. We weren't breaking any Gen Con rules. We weren't flyering. But we did put them in a few people's hands.
Yeah.
So,
if they asked, right?
No.
You check them up, then they say, hey, did you have a flyer? And you go, I might have one around here somewhere.
Yeah, here's 100.
Yeah, I kind of was by the Lego booth over there, Jason, in the nice cool area. I kept kind of leaving flyers on that table. So
cool.
Oh, I was trying to give you plausible deniability in case the Gen Con organizers are looking to get you.
I don't care. Let them try to get me. They can't find me.
Well, speaking of cons, I wanted to give you guys, well, actually not just you guys who are here on the show, but this is something I want to kind of put out to all of our listeners.
Okay.
So we met a great bunch of guys last year at Gen Con. At 2009, I met these guys that run the Dead Game Society.
Yes.
And then we got to meet them this year. Vince, you got a chance to hang out with everybody.
Great bunch of guys.
Really great. So what they do is they're dedicated to the preservation of out-of-print games, making sure that they get played at conventions, that people learn them, enjoy them, and have a good time with them, and all that kind of stuff. So now, of course, we're going to have them on the show sometime in the near future, and we're going to be doing a lot with each other because we're, kindred spirits and all that. I've been talking with Michael and Chad and Colin and John and all the guys over there. This isn't decided yet, but we're considering putting on a very small convention next year. So this is kind of my straw poll, because if we're going to do something like that, we need to find out if people are interested in going. Yeah. So here's the idea.
Dead Gamer Society convention or something?
Not quite. Actually, this is an idea that I had back in the 90s with my friend Wombat, and we never got around to doing it.
You had a friend named Wombat?
Don't ask.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
anyways, the convention is called Low Tech Con, and it's dedicated to all things low tech. So here's the idea. It's going to be small, probably 250, 300 people, probably held here in New York, maybe in Brooklyn. We could even go up to, say, Stamford, Connecticut, if it's easier for people, that kind of thing. And it's going to be a combination of things. So on the one hand, it's going to be out-of-print games. So anybody that wants to run a game at the con, as long as it's out of print, you can run it. So whether it's first edition Traveler, old AD&D, first edition Gamma World, even second or third edition Gamma World, anything like that. If you want to run it, if it's out of print, you can come and run it. The other thing, it's actually...
Whispering Vault, Slay Industries. Oops, sorry.
Perfect. Yeah.
Chill.
No, jump in with this stuff. You're getting it. The other thing, we'll also have computer and video games pre-1985.
Oh,
so that means any video game that came out before the NES and any computer game that came out before the introduction of the Macintosh.
Yes,
so
my
that means
Atom 12 can come out.
Which one?
My Atom computer can come out of the closet now.
Totally can come out. The Atom computer, your ColecoVision.
Yes.
ColecoVision, oh my god.
TI-99, 4A, Commodore 64.
Intellivision.
Intellivision. No, not the Sega Saturn. That's too late. Vectrex, you name it. Any of those kind of things. Also, there will be movie screenings continuously. So any of the good old films like the first Conan or Fantastic Planet, Heavy Metal, any of that great old stuff. So it's going to be a combination of all those things, just a celebration of low tech. The one exception that I'm considering is allowing independent game publishers, especially people doing retro clones that have something that they're selling new, to run things at the con also, because I think that kind of keeps the spirit alive.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, like I say, this is an idea right now. I've priced out a couple of convention centers, hotels that have really big rooms for convention stuff. I've got some ideas about dates, but it really has a lot to do with hearing whether people think that's something they'd want to go to or not. So that's what we'd like to hear from people. If you think, if you think you'd be willing to come out to New York, or if you're already in New York, let us know.
Or Connecticut.
We're thinking it could probably be like about $20-$25 would probably cover the expenses for each person.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're thinking maybe in November of 2011. So please let us know if you think it's a good idea. We'll start putting some straw polls up and looking for what people would look for at a convention like that.
I already know the name.
What's that?
I already know the name. RetroCon.
It's Low Tech Con.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's called Low Tech Con. It's called Low Tech Con.
No, it's Retro.
Oh boy, let's not argue over the name here. It takes a lot of work.
You could put up a poll.
We have
get people to vote.
No, the name is not a democracy. The name is Low Tech Con. But
okay,
Jason has spoken. He is
the things you want to see there. We'll see. Because retro, kind of implies an idea of nostalgia and only things that are old and people getting too maudlin about things. I'd rather people just think of it as low tech. So that's the idea. Cool. Please let us know what you think of that. If you'd like to go, if you think it's a terrible idea, don't hesitate to say you suck. Don't even do it. I'll get you if you do it. Don't do it. So let us know.
And if you need an address, I'll give it to you for Jason.
Quick comment on retro. I have a friend who I used to LARP with, and she's an older lady, and she turned to a friend one day who was about retro, who was all like, oh, retro this, retro that. And my friend Pat turned to her and said, if you hate retro so much, why'd you get a facelift?
Whoa. Burn! Good one. Yeah.
Hey, Jason, I just think, worst case, if we can't do something, as separate as a con, who's to say we can't, maybe approach the folks with Gary Con and do something in conjunction with them,
Well, Gary Con, absolutely. We're going to be at Gary, or at least I'll be at Gary Con. I don't know who else is going.
No.
I hope to go.
I've got my hotel reservations. I've pre-registered. I got my T-shirt. I'm set. So.
Yeah, you'll be running some games for Dead Game Society, won't you?
Yeah, I'll be running some first edition AD&D, and I'm considering trying a couple of other games at Gary Con also. I have Amoeba Wars, so I might bring that. I also have a good Steve Jackson game called Star Fist. It's sort of a tabletop take on the old Star Castle video game, but as like a tabletop space game. So we'll see. Yeah. Might even run Gamma World.
Is that one of the little tiny black box games?
No, Star Fist
Steve Jackson?
Yeah, it is a boxed game, and it's got the black hexagon map and the counters and everything like that.
Oh, cool.
If I run it at the con, I'll make a bigger map and I'll bring it with miniatures if I do that.
Well, all right. Well, email us, rfistaff@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on the Dragon's Foot forums. We're always lurking around. I got to give you a lot of credit for trying to design the con, Jason, and running it. I helped out with the local con that we have here, and it has 100 to 200 people that come usually, and it's a lot of work, dude. A lot.
That's why I'm
work.
saying it's not set in stone yet. All I've done is start pricing things. I reserve the right to back out and chicken out anytime in the next couple of months.
Oh boy.
Good disclaimer. I'm with you on that one. Okay.
And in which case we will put all the burden on Nick, and it'll be NickCon.
Yeah,
hey, whoa, Nate.
All right.
All right.
Let's move on. As you've been hearing all the giggling and laughing in the background, we have Julie with us this week. Julie, why don't you step up on the platform, on the soapbox, and tell us a little bit about your gaming career and what you do right now.
Well, I've been gaming for years.
What was that?
I started with the blue box. Okay, way back before the red and pink box came out. Mm-hmm. And I actually have a white box somewhere, but I bought that much later.
Don't say somewhere. You hope you know where it is. If you have a white box, you don't want to just say it's somewhere.
Yeah, really.
Well, I don't want anybody knowing where it is.
Right, okay.
Oh, well, there you go. Makes sense.
Yeah, many places. I did D&D for a long time. Actually, I remember from summer camp sending my mother a postcard saying, "Send my AD&D books. I found people who want to play with me."
Nice.
Yeah. I remember opening up the original box, the blue box, and reading the rules like 4 times, going, "Where is the board?" Because I had to teach myself. I didn't have anybody to learn from. We didn't know what this was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to say it, but even now, but more even back then, it's hard to find guys who will play with girls at that age. Mm-hmm. At early ages, you're like, yeah. But yeah, so after a while, though, I got sick and tired of the guys I was playing with, and I moved over to doing more modern-day horror games. I was going to buy Call of Cthulhu, but it was $2 too expensive for the money I had in hand, so I bought Chill, and I learned how to do that instead. And then later actually had, when Pacesetter crashed and then Mayfair took it over, Mayfair, at one of their published supplements for it, has a scenario I wrote in it.
Oh.
Which one?
So, it's in the... Oh, Lord. It was Haunted New England, but it had some really weird title for the book. But my scenario... Oh, you're quizzing me on stuff. It's so old. It's a great scenario. And my friend and I sat down and wrote. It's Death's Head Island.
Okay.
And it was inspired by Oak Island. It's an Oak Island type scenario.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I don't know what Oak Island means.
That's the whole money pit treasure legend, right?
Yeah, the pirate treasure. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I read about that when I was a little kid in one of those great big, strange, amazing facts kind of books. Yeah, I know what you mean. Okay.
Yeah, well, part of what we were doing when we wrote, my friend Steve and I, when we wrote the scenario, was we wanted to take one of the stupidest creatures in the Chill Monster Guide and try and explain it.
Wow. Now
try to give it a background that made sense. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And but it worked, and it actually turned into one that we got published. I've also been published in a Whispering Vault supplement. I'm credited as the this is a dubious credit. The Mythos creator for the Tales from the Crypt role-playing game.
Really? Credit?
Yeah.
That's a good credit.
Well, this was, that was put out by the Master Book stuff. Mm-hmm. And I figure it's long ago enough that I'm not telling tales out of school. If I say I was talking to Greg on the phone, because I published Serendipity Circle, which was a fanzine. It was really well received. We were nominated for the Origins Award several times. We got through 20 issues. Yeah, and it was in support of weird fantasy and horror games, because I looked around and there were so many things supporting any part of the fantasy genre. There were so many things supporting space, but there was nobody really doing anything except for specifically Call of Cthulhu. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I started a fanzine, because this was I like the weird games, So I got out into this, and one of their games was from the master book was Blood Shadows, which was sort of 40s film noir with magic. And I thought that was kind of cool. I got corresponding with them about that, looking into maybe writing for them. And one day we're on the phone, and he says to me, "Don't tell anybody, but we got the rights to Tales from the Crypt for a role-playing game." And I was trying to think of a polite way to say, what a dumb idea. Because, I'm all like, oh, well, that's an interesting idea. Well, maybe, But the problem with Tales from the Crypt is that every episode has one main character who's a butt and gets killed in an ironic manner. How do you incorporate that into any kind of campaign? Not to mention any kind of group game. I said, maybe you could quantum leap the characters into the bodies around the central character at the scene of the story, and they have to complete the story. And he's like, that's a cool idea. I'll use it.
Nice. You see, that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, so for all that it's sort of a silly concept, I love the idea of it's and the characters that people are given as generic templates, if you start with that, are your standard central characters. It's like the grasping lawyer and the Black Widow and the chicken-hearted guy. So they're sort of your standard non-hero characters that you get in Tales from the Crypt, and but they're dumped into bodies at the site, and they don't know who they are. So they're like suddenly find themselves like in the sample story that's in the book. In the original book, they're dumped into circus performers in the middle of their act. So one of them suddenly finds himself on a high wire, and in the sample scenario, I wrote up and handed out at one Gen Con in conjunction with them. They're dropped into the bodies of poodles.
Wow!
It's called Look Who's Screaming Now.
Nice.
Oh,
wow.
That's totally true to the spirit. I love it.
It was beautiful. So yeah, and I also have a photography credit in a game called Little Fears, because it's a game where you play small children dealing with boogeymen and stuff.
I think I heard of that game.
Yeah, it's been recently. I think they've been refurbishing it recently and going to put it out again or something. I don't keep track as much as I should. I have to admit, it's been a while since I've really followed a lot of stuff, because I just haven't had a group to play with, and the magazine got to be way too much work because nobody ever wrote anything but me. Yeah. But in Little Fears, this is another one. I was corresponding with them, and I said, yeah, we even have a 9-year-old in our group who's playing with us now, and he's like, really? Would she be interested in being in the book? He says, because I don't know anybody with kids that age, and it's not like you can walk up to people at the playground and go, can I take some pictures of your daughter?
Yeah, there's a definite creepy factor involved with that. So yeah.
Yeah, so there's some great pictures of Beverly in the original rules book, and she's now, at college, and she's one of the actors in my audio dramas, which is what I'm doing now. I've taken my experience writing game scenarios, and actually, a 4-hour game scenario for a convention, the same amount of plotting that you need for that makes almost perfectly a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I've worked on writing screenplays, and then as I realized that I don't have that pit bull go to Hollywood and chase people down and make put scripts in their faces, mentality. I was like, I'm never going to do this. I'm going to turn around and write audio dramas, which is something I can actually finish, actually put out. So I've been putting out 19 Nocturne Boulevard, which is sort of a Twilight Zone anthology show. And for anybody who's interested in trying it out, try the episode Exit Strategy. It's about a group of gamers on their way to a gaming convention. And
I'm liking it already.
It's really, they have to use their gamer skills to survive criminals that they run into. And
yes.
Yes. Oh no, there's nothing like when the one guy, the LARPer, comes back and he's like, "I have returned and I have a prize," and they're like, "You don't think they're going to notice that you stole their license plate?" Oh, they'll have other things on their mind. And they're like, "What did you do?" "I hobbled their horses." And the one non-gamer who's like the driver is like, "What?" And the guy's girlfriend is like, "He slashed their tires."
Excellent.
That's cool that you're involved with the audio dramas. I always thought that they were fascinating because I remember when they had, they made the first Star Wars film into an audio drama. And it was on.
The BBC.
Yeah.
NPR.
Yeah,
because
it was on NPR back in the day. I remember listening to that when there was like a terrible snowstorm outside, and it happened to be on the radio. It was just fantastic, and that's just another thing. You can really dig the audio dramas.
Yeah, it's something that I wish was more on the radio still, so it's nice to be able to at least go and grab them on the podcasts and have them for that. Especially, I like to take long drives. I like to drive when I go to a convention or when I go anywhere. So it's nice to actually have that.
You know what I like listening into the car while I'm doing a long drive?
What's that?
The RFI podcast. Ooh, cheap plug, cheap plug.
Yeah, I've heard of those guys.
Yeah,
Julie. So for the 19 Nocturne Boulevard, do you have other people submitting stories and or volunteering to get involved with doing the readings and those type of things? How does that go?
I don't take submissions simply because I've got so many scripts and I really consider it sort of my writing resume.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are all your scripts.
They're all my stories, although I do adapt from some classics. I've got some Lovecraft episodes. I've got
Cool.
I've got a very strange Poe story coming up. It's like it's a story from Poe that I've modernized into a frat house revenge film from the 1970s.
Cool.
And hey, orangutans were big in the 70s.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. I know which one you're talking about now. Sweet.
Oh, you might not. It's not Murders in the Rue Morgue.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, you got me.
No?
It was the man called Uncle. Yeah, that was it. No, I don't know.
No, it's Hop Frog.
Oh, Hop Frog.
Yes.
I have to admit I don't know it. I'm from Baltimore. I should know these things, but I don't know
Nah, there's not a pop quiz. But there's actually a really big community out here doing audio dramas. So yeah, I'm always looking for new voices. That's cool. I love working with new people. We get a lot of stuff where a lot of what I do, I have people recording themselves and then sending in the track. Then I assemble them, which is quite a chore. Mm-hmm. But I mean, see, and doing voices and doing acting is also directly coming out of my role-playing background. Especially as the GM, I've always been the one who had to play 16 characters during the game when everyone else had just their one.
Right.
So
you'll be hearing from me very soon then, Julie.
Excellent. Hey, I need some frat boys to kill.
Wow. I've seen a lot of your posts and your work on the Voice Acting Club post forums and Voice Acting Alliance. Yeah,
there's a lot of different places, and unfortunately, I don't keep up with anything except audio drama talk as much as I should.
Yeah,
I go some places and then I post stuff, and then like something distracts me, and I totally forget.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of your posts and a lot of things that you've done. You do some excellent work. I was auditioning for one of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer comic books things, and I got a role in that one. So.
Nice.
Great.
Yeah. I'm not doing Buffy or anything like that, so,
You're not Buffy?
No, I'm not Buffy, but I could try Buffy, but that was bad.
Wait, is this up somewhere that we can hear it?
No, it hasn't been published yet. They're in the process of doing it. I'm playing one of the evil bad guys right now, so.
Excellent.
It takes a surprising amount of time to put each episode together. I actually have 3 series running. 19 Nocturne is like my flagship. Well, I have 2 serials. One is called Bingo the Birthday Clown, and
that's scary already.
It's kind of inexplicable. It's sort of like if a 50s kids show and The Prisoner had a thalidomide baby.
Oh boy!
Oh my gosh! That's totally
not how
awesome.
scary I was expecting it to be.
Okay, actually,
it's just strange. And then my other series is a Western called The Deadeye Kid.
Yes.
Cool.
And The Deadeye Kid it's a Western with a very slight twist. It's mostly a Western. And it actually has a huge fan base already, because I think the Western fans out there just don't get a lot of options. But
You're absolutely right on that. They don't.
But it's basically a Western, but it's about a gunslinger who's trying to mend his ways and, make up for the bad he's done. But the only real difference is that he can talk to ghosts.
Very cool.
Cool.
So, transitioning into our next little segment here, Jason, you had recorded an interview.
Oh, so yeah.
May I say one more thing? I'm sorry.
Please do.
I'm sorry. I almost forgot the big, huge news, which is that, of course, now that I've given up on doing the screenplays, one of mine got picked up and it's going to be made into an indie film.
Nice.
Yeah. Congratulations.
And again, like I said, my plotting and all of those skills that I've picked up from role-playing, the reason I justify it that way is so many people all my life have said, well, this is never going to get you a job.
You knew Rosanna Dana? Is that what you're saying?
So you know how to find and remove traps and all that?
Wait. Save that for the future. Save that for afterwards.
So Jason, lead us into this segment that you had created.
Oh, right. So, when we were at Gen Con a couple of weeks ago, we had the good fortune to run into Jim and Debbie from Gamers Rule, and they have been putting out some amazing books lately. They put out the Dungeon Decks, first of all, that Nick was talking about a few weeks ago.
Yeah, they're really cool stuff. Nice people, too.
And which, of course, we've had a little experience with here on the show since, Nick, you ran us through a creature feature using the Dungeon Decks.
Yep, and I'll be doing it again today.
They also put out a lot of other great little accessories, I guess, such as the Tome of Runes, which I'm holding in my hands here. If you've ever needed a good runic alphabet to put in front of your players, they have a nice big book of different runes that you can make up some nice, very real-looking alphabets with. But the thing I was most excited about is they are now up to Volume 3 of the ultimate Unofficial Collector's Guide to D&D. So you've got now 3 volumes of this available that goes into a lot of detail, and we talk about it in the interview. But these are things that anybody, whether you're a collector or just trying to find out what something is, or you just like looking through these things, they can be a ton of fun to look at. So why don't we give a listen to that interview? It's the last day of Gen Con. My voice is terrible, and I'm here with Jim and Debbie from Gamers Rule.
Hello.
And so this is the book that we were talking about on the show. This is the third edition, or the third volume of the Collector's Guide to D&D.
Ultimate Unofficial Collector's
Guide to Dungeons and Dragons.
And this is the one that we really care about at Roll for Initiative because it's the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition. So tell me a little bit about what's in it and how you guys got everything and everything else.
Well, mostly what's in it is we talk about the different layout. I'll let Debbie tell you about the layout, but everything in there basically came out of our collection with some of the other people who have given us some photographs and scans.
When I ran the numbers on this particular volume, I think 96 to 97% of the products that are in here came from our personal collection.
Wow.
And the reason we started the Ultimate Unofficial Collector's Guide to D&D was we started going about 8 years ago. Okay, what are we missing from our collection? We're big collectors. He's been playing since 74.
Yeah.
When a lot of your listeners weren't even around. They hadn't been born yet.
Yeah,
or they
I feel
weren't
so
playing.
old.
Get off my lawn.
You kids!
But
Take your magic cards and get off my lawn.
Magic, when I was a kid, they were carved on rocks.
Oh, God.
Guys, we just had to get a hedgehog and throw him at somebody, and whichever direction that person fell was the number.
If it stuck in their back, that was a natural 20. Okay, go on. Okay. It is definitely
It's
Sunday.
definitely been a long convention. But we started looking for a list of what was out there, what we were missing from our collection. When we couldn't find it, I started gathering bits and pieces here and there and waited for somebody else to put out one list in print. No one did, so about a year and a half ago, we went, fine, we'll do it.
Yep.
And that's where the Ultimate Unofficial Collector's Guide came from. What's actually in it is all of the rule books, all of the adventures, all of the supplements that came out for Advanced Dungeons & Dragons First Edition that are not specific to a setting.
It's got basically two different...
Okay.
You have two different areas. Your first area tells you about the product or about what it was, and I also have little comments on there, what I think of it. The back part actually gives you the collector's list, which has the different printings and everything for you to check off.
So in the first part, you've got the name of it, the artists, the writer, the levels, if it's a module, how many pages, the ISBN, the copyright date, and if it's a box set, it's got the content list.
And I was actually about to ask you if you'd already printed it here. On the checklist in the back, you give people permission
Oh,
to
yeah.
Xerox the checklist so they don't mess up their book.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And some people want to write it in their book, some people don't.
They could
Up
buy
to
2
you.
books, have one for checking off and one for not.
That's
There
a good
you
way
go.
to Yep, that's a good way.
But in
I actually
the,
still do that with my old Dragon magazines. I have one for reading and one for keeping.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
we've actually got a lot of our books are that way as well, where we've got one copy that sits up in the plastic on the shelf, and then one that we got that isn't in good condition that we use for reference.
So here's a good example. Like, we look at the White Plume Mountain entry. So you've got the 2 different versions that came out and some little notes about it. You want to just read the notes and explain how this is set up?
Okay. What it has, it's first got the name, White Plume Mountain, the series ID, so it says S2. It also has that official item number 9027, the ISBN, the original price, and because this one has 2 different covers, one didn't have a price on it when it was first published. It shows you that the author was Lawrence Schick, the levels, the cover art, and it's, again, 2 different artists. It has both listed. There's a list of the interior artists, but in order to make it fit, there's numbers here in the back is a list of the artists that gives you the reference.
It's like solving a puzzle.
It'll tell you the copyright dates and actually the company name. TSR Games had the copyright on the first one. TSR Hobbies, Inc. had the copyright on the second.
And you've even got the logos pulled out beneath so you can see that more.
Right.
That's actually what got me into starting to collect. When I
Was-
looked at the books, I saw the different logos, and I started, ooh, look, here's a Wizard logo. I got to have one of those books.
Yeah, and this one actually, the first one had the Wizards logo, but then it was re-released with the silver edition logo on
Yeah,
the
Wizards
first
did that.
artwork.
Oh, okay. I was just saying, I don't even recognize that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Wizards of the Coast did that in a collector's box set.
Oh, okay, because I never saw those. Okay.
Yep, and then there was the one with the face or the moon, or what I've done is at the beginning of the book, I've shown all the logos and the phrasing that we use to refer to them. Okay, we've tried to use the ones that make the most logical sense.
And then what I like is really fun is you even have your little personal notes.
One of my all-time favorite handouts is the hand calligraphied poem on the last page of this adventure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've actually, he's handed that to me.
Yeah, those basically are what I like about it, what I dislike about it, what I thought was cool, that kind of stuff.
And that gives you, it tells you how many panels on the cover, what's inside or on the cover, and then the synopsis from the back.
And then also you've got sort of scattered throughout some things that are not in the regular rows.
Oh, yeah, just like the iconic Red Demon from the Player's Handbook 1.
Yep.
How many times it's appeared and who's used that picture and such.
Yeah, so this one, for example, even though this picture of the D&D Player's Handbook 2 is not from this grouping, you just put it in to show.
Yeah, exactly.
That,
how many times? Because this is one of the most notable pictures that has ever been done on a book. Everyone recognizes it.
Yeah, actually, since our listeners can't see, we should describe which picture we're talking about from the Player's Handbook.
That's the idol with the thief trying to take
with
the
Gary
gem out of its
Gygax
eye.
on the back of the book, and in the front you have the guy trying to take the gem, and he never gets the gem, because everybody always sees it in all the different ones, like the 30th anniversary poster, he's still trying to get the gem. Here, he's still trying to get the gem. That's Player's Handbook 2 from 3rd edition.
Hackmaster, which we love.
Yeah, Hackmaster's another one there. Well, they just slaughtered everybody, but he's still trying to get the gem. Actually gave up on gem and trying to kill somebody.
I don't know what Dork Covenant is.
That's,
Is it Dorkness Rising?
Yes.
Okay.
It's
exactly.
a comic.
Yeah, the
well,
Kenzer
he
Co.,
knows,
right?
He knows,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
With the Game Store Chronicles and all that stuff in there, yeah.
TSR even spoofed it themselves on their
On the
mail order hobby shop.
Yep, there's my scan.
Yeah.
There's my contribution to the book.
Yes, it
And
is.
Otherworld Miniatures actually makes a miniature of it, and one of the people on the KM,
Wow.
depending on who you
Actually
talk
painted
to,
that.
painted that up to look like the cover.
Wow, that's amazing.
So
I haven't looked all over for the scan of the hobby show, the mail order hobby shop one. I mean, not the scan, but only the actual one. I can't find it anywhere.
You know what's terrible? I found someone who has it here right now.
Oh, you're kidding.
I can take you to him. It's I
We'll
don't
go,
have a
we'll
list
go,
in my
we'll go.
bag, but trust me, there's so many. There's one module in there that he was selling. It was a tournament one that was worth about $30 $800.
Oh, I think I know that. He actually
We
has
know him.
Yeah, I bought a record album off him.
Really nice guy,
Yeah.
but he has several of these, so we'll get down there.
Awesome, yeah.
So this
Actually, the first Quest album, which
You
is
just went past one of my other favorite little this ad right here.
Oh, yeah, that was one of my
from
favorites,
the
too.
Dusty
Yeah.
Tomes. That
I
was
don't really
for the
use Unearthed
Unearthed
Arcana at all, or except for a couple of things. But I love the artwork.
Yeah,
on
the
it.
artwork was awesome. Yeah.
His comment, Jim's comment, I've always thought that the wizard, I'm reading
Was the
upside down,
perfect mystical.
wizard in this picture was the perfect mystical type, if a little creepy.
Mm-hmm.
See, you got to remember now, you're on a podcast. You don't have to hold the book straight for everyone to see it.
For her to read it.
Well, he was looking at it.
Yeah.
It's,
I like it
See,
because
I've actually collected all the old ads and everything. I'm a pack rat. When I go down there, I see promotional stuff. I get it.
Oh no, I actually have this ad at home too because one of my magazines fell apart. But
there you go.
this wizard always reminds me of the wizards from Facing the Frost from that book.
Oh yeah,
That's how I think of them. Just,
yeah, definitely.
Just perfect.
But there was, what I was
There it
looking
is.
at, the first
I just
Quest
picked that one
album.
up.
Oh yeah.
I
Oh, you
just
bought it?
got that. Yes, I
Good
did.
because I saw it down there. I was like, somebody who appreciates
Oh
this
yeah,
better
I looked
buy
at that
this.
and I went,
Yep, it's ours. It's sitting in our
Did you buy
hotel
the
room.
wallet?
no, didn't buy the wallet.
Oh, it's only like
We've-
$20 or something.
we've-
Yeah,
had
no,
to-
I debated it, but I have to. In order to, I have to close myself off. It has to be gaming related.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll have too
It was
much.
1983 though. It was like proper old.
Oh no, it's
Right.
but it's
But
like
what you have to understand, this particular item, the first Quest, has an adventure inside.
so I can justify.
Oh, the
it.
album. Yeah.
The album
that's
has
right.
it, so...
It actually has one
yeah.
of the oddest ones I've ever run across. So I can find it.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
this
thing.
is the third book, and the first two cover.
The first one was the original, so chainmail, the wood box, and basic,
Mm-hmm.
which all the way through the end of basic, where it overlapped with AD&D.
Oh right,
That's
I saw
the
this.
oddest one I've ever seen. I can't figure out where it came from.
So just to describe it to people who are listening, it just looks like a
It's
blue.
It's a blue bound monster manual. There's
Mm-hmm.
no art on it whatsoever. On the spine it says Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Gygax, Monster Manual. And that's
Which is
it.
strange because if it was like a printer's proof or a preview, it wouldn't be hardbacked.
No, it wouldn't.
And it is also a slightly different
slightly
size.
different. It's a little bit smaller.
The pages are a different size, not just the cover.
How did you come across it?
I found it on eBay, actually, and the guy on eBay had no idea. He went to some online sources. I think it was the
I'm not sure.
and they weren't sure either what it was. Mm-hmm. And I saw it, and I went bid on it, and I talked to the guy, and he goes, "Yeah, he picked it up and said a yard sale, and he had no idea what it was."
Bizarre.
So now it could be a library rebinding, but that being the case, it would cost more to do the rebinding than to buy a whole new book.
That's what a printer friend of mine said.
Yeah. Bizarre. Well,
And
maybe
why would they
If anyone
cut
knows
the
anything about
sizes?
it, please let me know.
Yeah. Did you go to the guys over at the auction and ask them if anybody there knew, like Tim Cass or Frank Metzer or any of them?
Didn't have a chance to, not this time.
Not
well-
this time. We just got it in between the
Well,
two
bring it to
conventions.
GaryCon. Bring it to GaryCon because I'm sure somebody at GaryCon will have an idea.
We should
That's
do that.
actually a very good
Yeah.
idea. Yeah.
So is there going to be a fourth book? Are you going to continue doing
Number
collector's
4
guides?
is Forgotten Realms.
Okay.
Number 5 is second edition. 6, 7, 8 are the settings.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do the miniatures.
Oh
in
wow.
one.
Well, when
We
you
will
say you're going to
also
do the
do the
miniatures, which
magazines.
ones are you going to include?
We're going to go right on from all lead, right on up to the pre-painteds.
But I mean,
up
from
to-
which companies?
Anything that's
anybody
licensed.
anything was licensed for Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, okay, but
And there'll
not
be a couple of-
necessarily.
well, there'll be a couple of honorable mentions in there, like what's Off-World, Otherworld.
Otherworld that
Otherworld.
did this one.
Yeah, there'll be some honorable mentions because they're so perfect. Mm-hmm. The examples are, so those will be in there too.
I forgot his name. Who's the Tom Meyer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Will
Yeah.
you cover anything that he's done? Because I mean, he's not licensed to D&D.
No,
but I mean,
no.
Without Tom Meyer, you've.
Yeah, he'll probably get some honorable mentions, definitely.
Yeah.
Because he's a icon.
He
basically.
did some for RAL when they were doing
Yeah,
the
actually they
officially
did. Yeah.
licensed.
Oh,
I
Yeah,
okay.
he
believe.
did. Yeah, he did.
Okay, very cool.
We haven't gotten to that one yet, so I'm gathering information, but it's not as well organized in my brain as, for instance,
What'll
through
it be,
this
12
one.
volumes or 13?
It'll be 12 volumes. The last one, it will be a master index, which will be organized in a couple of different ways, one by number,
We go back and forth on that. I want a 13th volume.
just because he wants
Miscellaneous.
a...
Well, miscellaneous,
yes.
like the wallet you talked about.
yeah, just various licensed.
Strange things, beach towels.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah, licensed
Yeah.
The
extras.
real reason not to do that is that there is no list for them anywhere, and you will never be able to complete that list because so many things were licensed.
So it'll be the unofficial Ultimate Collector's Guide to Strange and Unusual Stuff, which will never be complete.
What you do then is you print it with a pocket in the back, and you say, we're going to be releasing additional things.
Yeah.
You can buy the sheets and put them in.
Yeah, I like that. That works very well.
The book that never ends.
That works very well.
We might end up doing something like that.
The book that never ends.
That gives me an excuse to buy that stuff.
And once we finish, there will be a couple of appendixes. Already planned are the Judges Guild stuff.
Oh, great.
Oh, yeah.
The
Mayfair.
Roll Aids stuff.
Yep. Really, definitely.
And also because we're going through the end of 3.5, as it's a really good place to break, the D20 stuff.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's going to be great. So this is a project that's just going to keep on going. And
Oh yeah,
going.
oh yeah.
The one other thing we should bring up is something that one of our three hosts, Nick, actually was all excited when he came back with the dungeon decks.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't know that, we had already talked to you guys and seen this. He was like, have you heard of dungeon decks? And ran us through some of them. So maybe just kind of give a rundown on what they are and how they came about.
Well, the dungeon deck was designed because TSR actually came out with something called the Game Master's Card
Design deck?
Design deck or something like that.
Master deck?
It was a strange
Are you
box
talking
set.
about
It was second edition.
Oh, okay.
It
I
was
thought you were talking about
Card
different.
Master?
Card Master, I think like that. It was a strange thing. It was supposed to create an adventure, but it didn't. It was like an entirely different game. So I got the idea to create a deck which allows you to create an adventure in 30 seconds. And basically that's what the dungeon deck does. It's a 7-deck system that comes in the one. You pull from lures right on down to traps, right down to treasure and the monsters.
You have
create an adventure.
a lure to get the characters involved, what it looks like when they get there, what it feels like inside, what each room description is. You have a map, you have challenges for them to face, and you have a reward for them at the end, because players always need that. The nice thing about the dungeon deck, we've gone through and designed it. It was first designed by our major game master for those nights when 6 people were set to game and 3 showed up, and you don't want to start that adventure. But because you've been planning for that, you haven't planned something else. And you don't feel like going off the cuff all the time. So it's another option for that kind of setting. And I said, well, it's also good for someone who's just going to game every now and again, or run a game, DM.
Let's say you're at a con and a bunch of people say, let's do a pickup game.
Pickup games. As a matter of fact, I ran one the other day. I just pulled it off the top of my head and ran it up there.
Perfect.
But because I'm not primarily a game master, I said it's got to work for someone who doesn't game master often or who has never game mastered. So it's got a real good balance that it works for experienced or new. And it is also, because he's been playing since basic, original.
Original.
Woodbox.
Which I presume you have.
I don't have the box anymore, just the books with inside.
The box got destroyed.
Yeah, the box is toasted.
But eventually we'll get another one, but the content is there. But because he's been playing so long, it really is not specific to one edition. We have people who play first, second, Pathfinder,
Hackmaster.
4th edition, Hackmaster, Palladium, WEGs.
I don't even know WEGs.
They set up behind us at a convention, actually at Gen Con last year, and so they kept hearing our talk through
and
the
it
booth.
worked really well for them.
They came over. I've never found any fantasy role-playing system that does Dungeon Delve that it doesn't work for.
Wow.
Yeah, it's generically simple.
So for any of these things, how can people find them if they're not at a con?
The web address is gamers-rule.com.
Or just search for Dungeon Deck or the Ultimate Unofficial Collector's Guide to Dungeons & Dragons.
Well, thanks you guys so much for being on the Roll for Initiative podcast.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
That was cool.
Yeah.
They're a crack up. I love them.
Good interview.
Yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
Wow, flashbacks.
Yeah, it's a really cool book, the Collector's Guide, if you get a chance to pick it up, because it'll give you flashbacks through every single page as you go through the stuff, and it'll probably send you to eBay pretty quickly as you start realizing something you really want to have back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds really cool because not only does it tell you about just about the book and the ISBN number or whatever. It gives you a little snippets, a little bit of lore about a particular module or a book, stuff like that. So if looking at it from historical standpoint, I think it'd be quite important in that regard.
It's true, and the other thing I kind of like is that they do not do something that some collectors' guides do, which is to put like values and prices and things. It's not one of those kind of things. They don't ever say this will fetch $100 at auction or any of that silliness, because this might just
they're
be
always fluctuating.
Well, yeah, they're always fluctuating, but also, I mean, from my perspective, I think that if you're a collector, quote unquote, of gaming materials, you should be collecting them because you want to play them, not because you want to seal them and never let anybody breathe on them ever again.
I hate collectors like that. I mean, even if you want to just, you want to read it or scan it or copy it so you don't have to mess up your good copy, at least read it.
Yeah. There was an episode of James May's Top Toys last year where he came on and he was talking about all the toys of his childhood, and he went to a collector's auction of toy trains, and he bought the most expensive train they had at the auction while everybody was just sort of oohing and ahhing over it and talking about how they would keep it in perfect condition and keep it under glass and never touch it just like it was brand new on the shelf. And he went up and he paid for it, and he went to the auction booth, and as soon as they handed it to him, he's like, "Could you take it out of the box for me?" And their faces just dropped. And he's like, no. I was like, "Fine, give it to me." And he rips the box apart, throws it in the trash, takes the train, and goes, "I'm going to go home and play with this now." And just runs home and puts it on a train track.
Wow.
That's how you do it. So
it reminds me of a scene in a movie, but that's okay, where they cut the nose out of a Rembrandt. But
well, that actually could be the kind of thing that would be the clue in a dungeon to some traps being nearby. So maybe this would be a good time to talk about those.
All right, we'll get segue going into our next segment of Table Manners, and we'll be right back.
Typical. Of all the evil creatures in the world, I'd like to find one with table manners.
What, are you kidding me? I spent years cultivating the worst table manners on the planet.
Table manners.
Go, Nick.
Oh, gosh, here I am. Blah, blah, blah. Spacing off. I'm trying to find the trap. Come on.
That'll lead us into...
That's what the thief's got to do. He's got to find the trap. So we're going to talk a little bit about traps and using them in your game and how you can design them, or how you should use them just wherever, and maybe some resources to them. And Julie has part of her illustrious
well, that's right, I forgot to mention that before.
That's right. When we were talking about before, she has a trap in the one of the Grimtooth's Traps books. So
Traps 4.
Yep, in Traps 4. So I didn't know. Did you want to tell us about how you got about making that trap, and a little bit of the story behind it and what it is?
Well,
actually, give us a little bit of background on the guys at Grimtooth themselves, because if you try to go on and do a search for Paul Ryan O'Connor online now, it doesn't really help a lot. I don't know much of the history. All I know is the books.
Well, I really didn't know much about them either. What happened was, at the end of Traps 2, now in Traps 2 there are 2 additional traps, quote unquote. One is a code at the end of the book, and the other is a 3-digit page paragraph word code that's hidden throughout the pictures.
Yep.
Well, and I solved them both, and then I wrote in the code to tell them that their page paragraph words were off. that there were mistakes in there because it didn't quite make sense. Mm-hmm. And so I just started corresponding, and I have the letters somewhere, but I haven't been able to find them. Oh. I have everything somewhere, trust me. After a couple letters, he stopped writing in code because he found it irritating. And I thought it was Mike Stackpole I was writing back and forth with. And this is, of course,
that makes sense. Mike Stackpole you still see around. He's at all the conventions, and he'll be at the Writers' Symposium. So he's very active.
He's all over the place.
but I can't swear to it without actually having the letter in hand. But, so eventually I felt guilty for having taken up so much of his time asking these inane questions. So I wrote 3 traps and sent them in. Because I felt like that would be nice. I was in high school, okay?
Well, I mean, if you're going to complain, you have to be prepared to have them say, okay, here, you do it.
Yeah, and then it turned out that he liked one of them and published it and put it into the next book, and I got a free copy of the book, and it was so exciting.
Excellent. What was your trap? Describe it to us.
Yes.
If you can
Okay. I can remember it, though I suspect somebody there has it right in front of them.
Yes, I do.
You're going to test me on this. It's called Shuffle and Deal with It.
Yep, it sure is.
Yes, and what it is it's for those cut-rate dungeons where you can't afford a teleport room. And what it the magical effects of it are very limited because what happens when you go into a teleport room?
The lich on a budget. Okay.
Exactly. Well, and mine is actually usable, which is one of the things I'm very proud of because I hate to say 98% of everything in Grimtooth's traps is there just to giggle inanely over and then hope that someday you could put your players through, but you never would because then you'd never have any players anymore.
Right.
So, basically the party walks into a room. I mean, this is what happens with a teleport room. You walk into a room, the lights flicker, your animals pass out, small characters pass out, and then when you open the door again, everything's changed, and you're like, crap, I'm in a different part of the dungeon.
Right.
So, yeah, and so what this is it's rather than having to pay for those costly teleport spells, which also have to be renewed constantly, Mm-hmm. All it does is there's a spell that makes the lights flicker and the small animals pass out. Meanwhile, down the hall, the orc behind the wall is just going, grrr, shoving the door over. So the shoving a part of the wall over, opening up a new section and closing off an old section so that when you open the door, it looks like you're in a completely different place. And you throw away your map and you start over again. Ha, ha, ha.
Pure genius.
Some of the best traps are the ones like that. There was one I remember in the first book that went to all this trouble to scare the players with molten lava and ice water coming at the same time and poison gas coming up. And ultimately, the trick was that after all these things came shooting out of the wall, they would actually combine in these little areas that didn't actually hit the players, and each one would negate the properties of the other. So at the end of the day, you're totally fine. It just scared the something off of you. So.
Hey, my favorite of all the traps in Grimtooth's traps, apart from my own, of course, the one that has stuck with me throughout the years is the plaid thumb.
Oh,
do you
my
remember
gosh,
that one?
Yes. Yes.
It's basically a baseball-sized ball that you find that's plaid, and when you pick it up, it sticks on your thumb. So suddenly you lost all your dexterity. You can't handle a sword with that hand because you can't grip. You got a ball stuck on your thumb, and it's plaid.
I'm looking at the picture of it right now.
Isn't that great? I mean, that one struck me as pure genius.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you give it to the big warrior who doesn't know anything but stick jocking, and all of a sudden it starts to get plaid up your arm. The plaid spreads.
So, that's actually a good point that there's a difference between tricks and traps.
Yep.
When we talk about these things, there's the traps. Those are the things that the thief can be checking for, the mechanical traps that I think we'll talk a little bit about how thieves actually look for these. But then the tricks become a whole other thing, and I won't even bring the magic into it yet. But the tricks are the things where it's not something a thief could necessarily detect, but it's a trick on the adventurers.
True, example, and the plaid thumb is definitely a trick.
Yeah.
Right. Or what's the one where... when you normally expect adventurers to go swinging over a chasm like Tarzan or like something out of Star Wars because there's a hook that they can throw a rope to in the ceiling, but this time the hook they can throw a rope to is actually attached to another rope, so when they begin to swing, they swing down into the chasm instead.
Nice.
It's not a trap, but it's a great trick to play on them.
Yeah, actually, that'd be a great trick. So, when designing your adventures, and Julie, you can step in here also, when you design your adventures when you were younger, how many traps did you put in your adventure? Did you maybe not put it in at all, once in a while? I mean, we'll start with you.
Oh, with me?
Yeah.
I Well, of course, right after getting Grimsmouth's traps, like everyone, I loaded down with them.
Oh, man.
Because you can't help it. You just got so much to choose from. But no, after that, and I've done this in modern day stuff as well. I mean, because you do your Indiana Jones type adventures, you do whatever. There's always room for something. But, one or two is best because you load it down and they get way too cautious.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one
true.
of the things. I did some looking around, just trying to find anybody writing about it or talking about it before we did this show, and it's tough. How do you deal with the players that want to check for traps every single step of the way? The game's going to get really boring. The game gets very boring very quickly if at every single step I check for traps. I check for traps.
Yeah, no, they're using the thief as a tricorder. It's going pick, 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 pick.
Yeah, and I've certainly done it before where if that happens a bunch, you're like, look, I'll roll for you back here, and I'll let you know if you see something, and we're just going to make you go slower. But that's not that satisfying to me, to be honest.
Well, I would have to say, I think part of the blame has to be, ironically enough, the module S1 Tomb of Horrors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that I think Gary set a precedent there, and I think and there's, because look at that adventure. You got the green devil face, and you got the
everything.
corridor where you're hearing the party down at the other end, and everybody's goes down the other end, and the corridor kind of like the floor shifts or something like that. It's like everything in there is practically a trap. There's very few monsters. So I think
the three-armed gargoyle and the
yes, and the giant skeleton that's with the scimitars inside the chest.
I think this might be one of those
the
things
paranoia
where,
kind of started there.
Yeah. Well, but of course, not everybody's gone through that module, and I think this is one of those things where players have to get to know their DM and to know that their DM isn't going to put a trap at every single footstep. And maybe that's where it's good. It's where it's good that if you have a group of players that you started with from nobody really knowing the game, because when you start with novice players, they're not going to be checking for traps every 5 feet. And so if you kind of get them used to the fact that, don't worry, not every hallway you walk down is a potential, chutes and ladders kind of thing, then what you can do is start getting better as a DM about giving clues in the way you describe things. So you shouldn't be saying, this is an empty room, you see nothing. This is an empty room, you see nothing. This is an empty room, you see nothing, but that wall looks funny.
But you know what? This is
but
where,
if you have some way to say it.
As a DM too, and I think everybody's agreement in here at one point or another, you just got to get creative. Sometimes you just, physical traps, you don't need to make them. Sometimes it might be another type of trap or trick or whatever that you might create. It could be some strange magical trap. Or the teleport room or whatever. Stuff that you can just sneak in there. So if
sure.
they're always looking
traps
for.
are good.
Oh yeah.
Also, I have to say, for me, from the way I've always looked at things from a GM is that the monster or villain is my character, and I'll look at dungeon construction from that viewpoint, because if they can figure out the personality of the antagonist or whoever built the dungeon, then that's actually a valid character done thing as they start to go, oh, wait a minute, this is Ramseth we're talking about. He loves to trap doorways.
Yeah.
Or something. And that
Bingo.
actually adds a layer to it as a story thing. I joke about the cut rate dungeon in my traps.
Yes.
But
Lich
still,
on a budget.
Yeah, but if you think about it, if you do think about planning a dungeon, and I know most people just, it's part of what made me do this is B1. The old B1, because it was fill the rooms with monsters. And then I started thinking, why would this monster be in the room next to that monster? That doesn't make sense. And how does this monster eat? There's no food for it, And
right, that's In Search of the Unknown, module B1, right?
Yeah. It's really interesting that you bring that one up right now, actually, because in preparation, again, for the show, I was asking some folks on Dragon's Foot about a really particular question. Not specifically to traps, but one of the trap testing tools of the Dungeoneer is the 10-foot pole.
Yeah,
your trusty 10-foot pole.
I saw that.
And
yeah.
Or the henchman.
Or the henchmen,
Yes.
or the summon animals, summon monsters, right? But the 10-foot pole is one of those things where I've never seen an article in Dragon Magazine about it. I've never heard a really in-depth discussion about it. So I wanted to get people's feedback on, well, how do you use these things? How does a 10-foot pole end up in a dungeon in the first place? What is this thing? Is it a barge pole? Is it like a telescoping antenna from your car? And
I believe it's...
Yeah,
I believe it's 3 copper pieces in initial character generation.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so somebody on there mentioned, somebody with a really good memory said, didn't B1 have an illustration in it somewhere? And it turns out it did. There's an illustration in B1, in Search of the Unknown, of the party walking through the forest on their way to the dungeon, and you see the fighter in the middle. I think it's the fighter. He's wearing a skirt, so I assume it's the fighter. Because
I don't know how you made that leap of logic, but okay.
Because who's going to say anything to the fighter? And
maybe
it's a utilikilt. Really,
yeah, I was just going to say it's a utilikilt.
If anybody listening right now is wearing a utilikilt, please let us know, because I got to give you a prize or something.
No.
The character in the middle is carrying a 10-foot pole. And this illustration is really good for me to kind of think about what is it like to carry one of these things. And it's basically like a big barge pole. So it's really funny that you mentioned B1, because that's the one place where you will find an illustration of a 10-foot pole and what these things really are.
Well, they actually are handy. I mean, there's only so much they can do, because some things are pressure sensitive to the point of having to have weight put on them or something.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you're poking ahead and it's a tripwire or, something hidden in the, like cobwebs or something that you can, that's going to get you if you run into it right up there and it hits ahead of you, that's a good thing.
Of course, then a good dungeon designer will think about that and turn it on their head. Vince, like the game we were just in, at Gen Con, you guys were poking ahead with your 10-foot pole, which, of course, managed to trip the tripwire, which was there specifically to alert the guards if somebody was coming in.
Yes.
So had the thief been just, being a little bit more alert rather than poking 10 feet ahead of him, he would have noticed the tripwire.
I think we spent a little too much time on poking the stick ahead and not focusing on the adventure. So.
Yeah, but that raises another good point about how you have your thieves checking for traps. I don't like to have just the idea of roll, roll, roll. I prefer to listen to people say, what direction are you looking, what are you paying attention for, that type of thing. Because that way you can say, even when they go up and actually find the trap, you could describe some of it to them and say, you see some kind of a plate that could move, or you see a wire that's here, or whatever it is that's there, so they can give some actual thought and some role-playing to the trap rather than simply, rolling a percentile to see if they can disarm it.
On a slightly different note, but a way to make you think of how traps actually work, in a LARP that I was playing recently, for picking locks, you had to have a thing, one of those things that tests charge testers.
Yeah.
Oh,
and you had to grip a bar and then run a wash through a series of bent wires without touching it, because if you touched it and set it off, then you had to start over.
Oh. I think they did something like that at a True Dungeon that I went through at one of the cons.
Yeah, and it forces you to really, once you start thinking in physical terms of what your character is actually doing, but at the same time, they made this something that anyone could do if they go slowly enough. And that was nice, because, it takes it and turns it from a purely mental, thing into, oh, I see what I need to do, And,
it's a lot of fun when you have some different mechanics to bring into the actual game.
Right.
Too. One DM that was taking us through a hallway that had a lot of different plates, pressure-sensitive plates that would either tip the hallway to the left or to the right, and you had to be careful not to tip it too far. And you had to kind of guess at which plate it was going to be. So his mechanic that he came up with is he brought a deck of cards, and he basically had us play high-low. With each one, we had to guess whether the next card was going to be high or low from the last one, and if we got it right, we were stepping in the right direction. If we got it wrong, we pushed it too far. It was a short diversion. Everybody had a great time. Yeah. So it's fun if you can come up with some little quick mechanics at the table to bring people into it like that. Instead of just saying, did I make it down the hallway?
It's nice anytime you can introduce three-dimensional props, or also because anything that creates more of the illusion of the game is nice. I had a game once, it was a Western setting, and I had a tray of dirt, dust, just sandy dust, because they were having to map out how they were going to defend this town.
Yeah.
It was sort of a samurai thing, but with a really weird twist to it. And this really dusty, clingy dirt and they were drawing in it and using rocks to set up, here's where we're going to put the perimeter and here's where we're going to do this. Well, it turned out as the game went on that what they were being attacked by was these dust creatures. And by then, everybody was covered in this stuff.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
And it creeped them out. It was great.
So, what do we do if our players figure out the trap that we spent hours crafting and laughing over and crying and, spitting blood up over? Do you change it on the fly, or would you just keep it going and say, oh, well, they figured it out next time? I personally, myself, have changed traps right in the middle just because I don't want them to figure it out. And I'm an evil DM, so.
I just would, two reasons I wouldn't do it. One is because I feel like it's hard enough to get through. When you're thinking it from the DM, you know everything that's there, and it seems so obvious to you. But when you're on the player's side, everything is just so occulted and mysterious. You have no idea what's actually happening. That just figuring something out is such a achievement. So on the one hand, I kind of don't want to take away that achievement from them. But probably the real reason, on the other hand, is I'm not clever enough to come up with something on the fly. So if they figured it out. All right, it's kind of like if they killed my big bad monster too easily. Well, good for you.
Just make another one.
Yeah, I kind of look at it the same way. It's just like, no, they figured out the trap. They figured it out. Kudos to them. I mean, hey.
If nothing else, it gives an opportunity to gloat over how cool the trap was and how much they escaped it.
Yeah.
I think for me, I'd look at it from a plot point of view. Is it important at this point that there's more time spent in this room for some reason? Or, if this is the big bad penultimate trap that's going to get them the ring of everything control, then
you know what's in our Dragon's Heart this week.
Ooh, then I'd be more likely to add something to continue to up the tension rather than just let them get through it. It just depends. I'd look at it from the uber plot point of view myself.
Yeah, I guess if you spent all night making the trap, and that would be the uber trap of the night, so you probably want to do something special to it.
I was in a game one time, I do cut me off if I go on too long, but where the GM says, okay, this is a futuristic cyberpunk game, violence, all of this. He says, okay, you're going to be fighting these monsters in a paint factory, an old abandoned paint factory. So we go to the old abandoned paint factory, and my character's first response is I roll a grenade in the door. And the GM just stares at me, and he's like, crap. And I said, what? And he goes, well, I really didn't have anything planned for tonight, but I wanted to make you fight in the paint factory because the fumes in the air are so flammable, you can't use any kind of bullets. So it's going to have to turn into hand-to-hand, and that would have took all night. He says, you just blew up the whole scenario.
Wow.
I'm like, it's not the first time Stig's rolled a grenade in. You should have expected that.
Well, players will always do the unexpected. Always, always, always.
Yeah.
No, you guys just gave me a great idea for a book. Remember Art Linkletter's Kids Say the Darndest Things?
Yeah.
Yes.
We need a book, Players Do the Darndest Things.
Yeah.
There should just be a collection of those kind of stories of the players that just do the most unexpected thing in a game.
Wasn't that a Bill Cosby show, too, at one point?
Yeah, I think he did
so,
do
yeah.
something off of that, which is good.
Anyway, so what books do we have for people that are just too lazy to design their own traps out there?
Well, that would be me.
I want to start
I'm
this
too
one
lazy.
off.
Go ahead, Jason.
I want to start this one off. I think I mentioned this last time, but I think this is not a game book. And by the way, I'll often go to things that are not game books as my source material for things. Mm-hmm. And this one is called Man Trapping. And it's by Ragnar Benson.
Sounds like
Do you know him? You know who I'm talking about?
No, just man trapping.
sounds like a date book for women or something.
Well, this came out on Paladin Press. There were a couple of publishers in the 80s and 90s called Loom Panics and Paladin Press. And they put out all these kind of books that really tested the limits of what you were allowed to actually print. In fact, Ragnar Benson has had several of his books banned from importation into Canada for certain. And he is this sort of shadowy figure who definitely fought in Vietnam, definitely was doing some kind of mercenary work in Africa for a number of years, and has written all of these books that kind of talk about, he calls it preparedness, not being a survivalist, being a prepared person. And so this particular book, Man Trapping, is all about the kind of traps that you're likely to encounter if you're out in these areas that there's guerrilla insurgencies and that sort of thing, and how to recognize them, how to avoid them, or if you ever end up in a situation where you have to protect your land from, I don't know, the revenuers or something, how you can... So...
IRS, yes.
Yeah. So it's got all sorts of things. It really talks about the psychology of traps, how they are spotted in the wild, what you have to do to set them up, and some of the ways that they're really done, like the idea of triggers, because the trigger for the trap is one of the most important things. What sets it off? And so he has a whole chapter devoted to how triggers really work. And then you have things in here like the pit trap, the sheep eater's rockfall, the Chinese chopper, the Cuban water trap, the Javaro catapult, all sorts of good stuff. So
awesome.
That is my favorite
Fun
book.
for the whole family.
Yeah, you've got to look for it used. It's out of print, but you can actually find PDFs of it floating around the internet if you're looking for it, and that's my favorite.
Ironically enough, when you said out of print, most of the Grimtooth Traps books are out of print. The one that I believe still is, Flying Buffalo still puts out, is Traps 2. But
there's a best of floating around. I don't know if it's still in print, but I looked it up
like
recently.
The original one and Traps 4, because they didn't do a Traps 3 because they said it was just too evil. Traps 8 and Traps Light, and if you can still find them on eBay and stuff. Luckily, I hunted around for them and found them at cons and stuff like that. You can always find them at conventions and. In the bins and what have you. So Grimtooth is still out there. I think 2 is a real good start.
Traps 2. Matt's telling us that Traps 2 is available at the Flying Buffalo site.
Yeah, that's the one I know is still available is Traps 2. Yep.
Oh, good.
Yeah, the other ones though I think are out of print, but Traps 2 is a good start, and if that whets your appetite, you can hunt down the rest of that series. And I did find a couple of websites that deal with, some trap stuff. One of them is chaoticshiny.com. And they have, Chaotic Shiny.
Huh.
Okay. Yeah. And they have a random trap generator on their website, which is
really
pretty cool.
That's cool. So you always have something available then.
Yeah. So you can make it right there in your browser. You can make a trap right there, and it's generic. You can use it for any system, and so I think that's a really cool online resource. And another place was ADNDdownloads.com. AD with the letter ND downloads.com. Mm-hmm. And they have, I would say, about 10 different downloads of either PDFs or Word documents of various traps. Kind of done in the old Grimtooth style. Those are definitely working out.
You have to be you have to be careful with that site, the AD&D downloads, because a lot of their stuff now is based on the new edition. So,
well, the nice thing about traps is, this is why Grimtooth was so good. With a trap, you don't really need to put any stats in it. You just need to describe the mechanism. So if somebody's written a trap for any edition, all you have to do is look at how it's set up, and you can adapt it.
And I love this topic specifically because for me, this is where I run into, I guess you would call it writer's block or DM's block. I've always had a rough time of making up traps. It's just like, I just have a hard time trying to figure out how to make one, Yeah.
Traps are crazy.
That's why
I look at a well-designed one, I look at them, I'm like, that's so obvious, it's great, but I don't think I would have thought of it. You look at it and you're like, I would have thought it. No, I wouldn't.
Yeah, and I love the Grimtooth traps, or and now they got Chaotic Shiny there with their random trap generator. I mean, for me, it makes my life as a DM a lot easier. Where if I have to figure out a trap to make either a magical one or a mechanical one, what have you, I mean, I could either literally steal the idea right off the page, or, you know what, maybe you can modify it a little. It's like, maybe I don't like that part. It's still kind of cool, but, maybe I want to add this or take this away. So,
well, and one of the things is when you're designing the traps, I think what can cause the DM block is if you start out with the idea, I've got to put a trap here now. If you start out from the idea, this is the room, this is what's around, and you just start looking at it in your mind and thinking, well, what if that worked a little differently? Like we were talking the other day, and we were talking about the animal friendship. I think it was a ring of animal friendship.
Yeah.
And that kind of led to the idea of something that could have worked for a trap. So, one last place you might look for things. Surprisingly, Dragon Magazine doesn't have a lot when it comes to traps, but if you look in some of the older issues, there used to be a column called Dastardly Deeds and Devious Devices.
Yes.
And so you can find some good ones there. So... we'll put up on the show notes, points to all these different places that you can go and find out about the traps.
Maybe that's a good idea for Todd to write an article on traps.
Oh yeah,
I would love it.
There you go, Todd. We give you another idea for you to throw up there
Todd,
for
if you're listening
Todd
out
seems to
there,
have a lot of good ideas of his own. So let's see what he does.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we're gonna move into Dragon's Horde now, guys.
The Dragon's Horde.
So, Dragon Horde tonight. What do we have, Jason, since you already dropped a little bit of the bomb with Julie before about this?
We have the Ring of Everything Control.
No.
Actually, we almost do.
It's darn close.
We actually have, as we look inside the box, we peer in and see a small, shiny ring. And this is a Ring of Genie Summoning. That's, if you're looking in the alphabetical areas, that would be DJINNI. Not as in I dream of, but as in the genie of.
With light brown hair.
And it's just what it sounds like. This is going to actually summon a genie. And it's going to summon them from the elemental plane of air. This is actually a dimensional gate, I guess a planar gate is what it really is. And if you go and you take a look at Jeff Grubb's Manual of the Planes, that's a really good resource for when you're thinking about how the ring actually functions. And what it's going to do, in just plain game terms, is it's going to summon a genie, as you expect, which will obey and serve the wearer of the ring.
Yes.
And then, of course, it's only going to be good for the wearer of the ring. So once the wearer of the ring is either killed, basically. I was going to say, or plane shifted or whatever. But once, if the bearer of the ring is killed, the ring becomes worthless. So it's a very powerful item.
Yes, it is.
You don't give this to your first level players.
And
Though it would be really chaotic.
Yeah.
It would be funny to see what... actually, maybe you do, because the genie just is not going to respect this first level and will cause havoc throughout.
And I guarantee your genie will not be Robin Williams, so...
No.
or
Lenny Henry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, is this too powerful for your campaign? I think it might be for lower level characters, like you were saying, Jason. But maybe it might be fun just to see what happens with the ring, what they do with it. I have a player in my group is lower level. I accidentally randomly rolled this because I forgot to roll it up. So he got a wish, and he hasn't used it for 4 levels. He's just holding on to that wish.
Yeah.
So he's waiting and waiting. I go, what are you going to do with that wish? You want to do that wish? I keep going, you got a wish. But he will not use it. He's just holding on to it like a little kid who found a quarter on the ground.
He's not going to spend it.
Nope. Nick, what do you think?
No,
this is a magic item I have not used, or let alone actually really run across. But man, it really does open up a can of worms, don't it? I'm just trying to think of, does this genie really want to be tied to some mortal? I mean,
this is the thing. Before we jump too far into it, it's good to note what we're talking about with a genie here. I mean, it's only the noble djinn that are actually able to grant wishes. So according to Monster Manual, you've got a 1% chance of rolling up a noble djinn. The actual genie are not terribly powerful things for high-level creatures. They're a 7-hit dice monster, if you want to look at it that way. And the kind of things that they're going to be able to do is to be just a really helpful servant with some great magical abilities.
Still.
If you get a noble one that can grant wishes, I mean, maybe at a very high level you could do it that way. But I don't think that it's a game unbalancing item if you're talking about characters who are, say, 9th or 10th level, for example.
Yeah.
Also, my first instinct is, to have the genie created in advance, that, set it with the ring, so that that there's a personality issues. Because it's an intelligent creature. It can have a personality.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it needs to.
If your alignment doesn't match, that's already a good thing, because they're chaotic good. So if your character's something else, you've already got a fun opportunity for some wacky hijinks.
A bipolar Dingy come out. Why bother?
Well, I'm thinking maybe one who has its own agenda, who's going to try and, I heard there was a treasure over there.
Yeah.
No, there's this treasure this direction. I mean, you could work a whole nother storyline into it if you wanted to. I mean, not in a generic one, but in your personal campaign. The idea of maybe the genie trying to find the ring that's imprisoning his girlfriend, Genie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that would be good. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Well, also, if you have a genie that's higher intelligence than the character, they're going to be manipulating them probably in some fun ways. I mean, I'm really thinking of this in sort of an 80s buddy picture movie, kind of with Robin Williams and Richard Pryor kind of situation, where one of them comes out and is the genie, and the other one is like, I control the genie, and the genie, of course, is Richard Pryor, who has his own ideas about what's going to happen.
Well, all the genie needs to start doing is be like, those guys are talking about you. They don't like you.
Yeah.
I overheard them. They think you're a dork.
You should have heard what they said about you while you were gone.
Any number of things that they can have fun with. I think it would be really good. I mean, the good thing about them is they're going to be able to do things like, I'm just now going back to the monster manual to see what the genie can actually do. And as far as doing for the players, it's going to be just things like creating food or creating water or even wooden items. So it'd be really useful in a lot of cases where, we need a staircase here. We need to get up to that. Well, I've got my genie. Let me have him create a staircase. That kind of stuff. So it can be really useful.
And creating food and water is not something to sneeze at, because if you run out of food and water in the middle of a dungeon...
Oh, how about like the genie that's like that bumbling genie that every time he casts something, it just goes completely wrong? Or like a wild magic genie or something?
Oh, yeah.
Like, Magic Mongo.
Yes, Magic Mongo.
Oh, God. There you go.
You guys got to help me out. I don't get the reference.
Saturday morning crafts show along with Land of the Lost and Wonderbug.
Yep.
Yes.
I remember those. What did Magic
when.
Mongo do?
God, I remember
he was
that.
pretty useless. He everything he did would come out somehow wrong.
Yeah, he was such a dopey
so the genie
genie.
has good intentions, like, I'll make you some food, and they make you like something really salty and you can't eat it.
He had like a
it should be kind of like the vending machine on the Heart of Gold in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Every single thing they made was just slightly, completely inedible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it didn't quite understand what humans wanted to eat. And maybe this genie's from the elemental plane of air. He doesn't really get this whole human food thing.
I know he's always making light meals. Sorry.
No,
but the good thing with it, though, I mean, I can see a lot of cases where it'd be incredibly helpful to have an elemental from the plane of elemental air. When you're trapped in a room or you can't get through to something or you need to find out what is over that hill, behind that wall, etc., he can be a really, really handy aid to have around.
Spoiler on my show, it's the Dead-Eyed Kid has a ghost for a sidekick, and the ghost can go scout all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, I mean, think of them that way. So,
yeah,
I'm actually getting kind of talked into the idea that this would be a really fun thing for the players to get a hold of.
Yeah.
Dun dun dun.
I think it's definitely something you'd want to plan for your campaign, not just something to roll up randomly.
No. Yeah, I actually have a hard time rolling
somewhere.
anything. Yeah, I have a hard time rolling anything up randomly because you never know what it's going to do. I like to pick.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing like that random roll, and they get the single number that will get them the deck of many things.
Oh.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yep.
And then you spend the next 2 hours on everybody pulling a card out of the deck.
Or they got the apparatus of the Walsh.
Until your entire party is dead except for the one who is now a god.
Yes. All right. Tell us how you use the ring in your games, rfistaff@gmail.com. And we'll head into Creature Feature Theater. And I believe Nick is going to be running us through that.
Yes.
Creature Theater.
All right, Nick. So
yeah,
you're the man this week.
I am the man. I'm so bad I should be in detention. Wow. All right. So, creature feature this week. I believe Vince and Jason, you got your characters ready to go there?
Yes, we do.
Cedric.
I got
and
Grimthar.
We also have a new player.
Yay!
Our guest Julie. She's
playing.
You're playing a thief, right?
Yes.
Yes. So
I'm.
Yes.
Lyle.
Lyle.
Oh, yeah, Lyle. I think.
Little Lyle.
Or whatever you want to call her.
That works. Lyle works.
Give her a name. Tell us what her name is so we can refer to you properly.
Lyle works because the name given to me by my elven mother is something you couldn't pronounce.
Oh, okay.
Lyle it is.
Lyle it is.
You know, something we might want to do for future creature features. Have you guys seen the Mad Irishman's character sheets?
Yeah, I directed you towards those.
Was it you that told me about them?
Yeah.
I knew it was at the convention that somebody told me for the first time. And amazing things. That if anybody wants to go, we should put a link in the show notes to those things. Where what we could actually do is just fill those out. I think he was actually even volunteering to help people make them fill in-able PDF forms. So
that would be great.
Yeah, he actually showed up on the forums for the first time ever, just out of the blue. Total coincidence. So we might even try to get him come on the show sometime, because that's a great way to get your character sheets that are have everything kind of where you expect them to be.
He was in the Dragon's Foot?
Yeah, he was on Dragon's Foot for the first time. Came on and did his first 2 posts just today.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been using his sheets for years. He's a great artist, a great maker of sheets.
Yeah, he does them from scratch. He just manages to make them
maker
look
of sheets.
All right, go ahead, Nick. You have the floor, the microphone, and the audience.
All right. Well, as many of you might recall, the last time that Cedric and Grimthar were adventuring, yes, they stopped. They were going through was like a rocky, hilly area, and the last thing they ran into was a Lucrata. Well, you made it through this rocky, hilly area and made it into some kind of plains area, and you stopped off at a town, and this is where you met up with Lyle.
Hi, Lyle.
Your party looks like you could use a thief.
Yeah,
exactly.
Mainstream and fast forwarding it.
That's right. So that's how Lyle got into it. Well, you've been hearing some rumors around this particular area, this town, and the all surrounding areas that they've had some problems with some strange creatures destroying destroying crops, destroying farmland, and they seem to just pop out of the earth at random places. And a couple
This sounds
of people
like a job for some half-elves.
Yes, and it seems like that they just pop up at random, particularly at night. A couple of people have been hurt. One person has been killed, and they said that if you could help their town out and the surrounding area of the farmlands, they will pay you handsomely.
That's all the motivation we need. Let us go forth.
Money. All right. So,
do we have a layout of the town so we know where these attacks are occurring?
They seem to be occurring randomly around the area, but they said, well, the last last attack was at such and such place. Just down the road here. It won't take you long to get to it. Maybe you can investigate there. Maybe that's the best place to look.
All right,
so,
let's get us over there.
All right,
so you head over there.
We travel down the road.
I'm going to make a random roll here.
Are we going to be able to look at the body of the victim, or have they already been interred?
Yeah, they've already been interred and all that.
So can somebody tell us what does it look like? They were attacked by weapons or by claws?
It was.
I mean, it will tell us
these
something.
creatures were not humanoid.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they didn't see the attack; they just saw the bodies afterwards.
Exactly.
Okay, and how did the bodies look when they got a hold of them?
Mangled, destroyed,
Shot up,
gnawed on, chewed up on.
Okay.
Gnawed on, shot up. Okay.
Yeah, chewed up on. Okay, Vince, you're 1, 2, and Jason 3, 4, and Julie 5, 6.
Okay.
2.
Nick's gonna get revenge on me from last time.
No, well, as you guys are traveling along, Vince,
yes,
the ground beneath you gives way.
Yeah,
and you fall into some. Not too far. You kind of stumble and fall into a pile of soft dirt.
Huh?
Now, stumble and fall meaning fall like trip, not like fall down a hole?
No, it kind of, falls down a hole. And just the earth kind of gave way as you're walking through this farmland, and he falls into, I guess, like a pit area.
Crap.
Mm-hmm. And there seems to be, and there's enough light for you to see that there's, it's roughly 20 by 30 area that's been cleared out of dirt and everything.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And there seems to be 2 corridors, if you want to call them, or tunnels.
Like
they're about
somebody dug or something, right?
Yeah, something or someone dug through.
Great.
One goes about 20 feet to the north, roughly, and the other one goes about 40 feet to the east.
Wonderful.
And that's as far as we can see.
That's what I can
and
say.
it's about 10 feet wide. Beyond that, you can't really see.
Hey, guys!
Okay, so let's leap
What time
down
of day are
into
we?
the... Oh, yeah.
What time of day are we at right now?
Afternoon.
Okay.
So
Because if the
plenty of
attacks take
light.
place mostly after night, it's good to know what we've got as far as light goes.
Yeah, so
All right.
there's plenty of light. You could see Grimthar down the pit like, "Hey guys."
All right, so someone
I'm gonna hop down into the pit with him if there's enough. How big did you say it was?
20. Oh, it's about like a 20 by 30 wide hole.
Okay,
That
I'm gonna hop down in, and you
About
said there's 2 corridors.
less than
right?
10 feet. Less than 10 feet down.
I missed this hole.
You fell into it.
Well, the ground above gave way.
Oh,
it
I
was
was gonna
already
say.
covered.
Wow.
It was like it was a thin. Yeah, the earth was kind of thin where you fell through.
Okay.
So.
All right.
Well, with
Yeah,
that much earth giving way, there's probably an easy way to just climb down in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can easily
Big
climb
pile
down.
of
You can
rubble.
Yeah, there's just clods of dirt and everything. You can easily climb down. It's maybe 8 feet deep down.
Okay.
I see London. I see France. I see Louis Underpants.
So, all right. So I'm gonna hop
Leather
down into
armor
this pit.
helps.
Yes, I know.
You said there's 2 corridors, right?
Yeah, one that goes to the north about 20 feet, and the other one goes to the east about
All
40.
right. On the corridor to the east, I'm going to cast a web so that it's protected somewhat, so nothing comes flying through from that corridor.
Okay, no problem. You cast your web spell, and it fills up a good amount of that corridor. No
And
problem.
to the north, I'm going to cast a flaming sphere down the corridor as far as I can.
Really? Okay.
Great. Just draw the tremor
Getting to the
creature
action.
out.
Let's get to the action.
Let's get the tremor creatures to come out and kill us already. Yeah.
Flaming sphere, right? Okay, go ahead and roll damage for that.
All right, 6.
All right. And you hear a strange squealing sound come from the area that you cast your flaming sphere.
What did we see? I mean, I'm assuming that it cast a good light as it was going down as well.
You see a creature that is the best way I could describe it is it looks like a insect type creature.
Okay.
With many legs.
Okay.
And it's kind of has a greenish kind of carapace to it. So
greenish carapace, like you mean like the carapace is like the shell? Is that what that is, or the?
Yeah, its exoskeleton is kind of a greenish color.
Okay, so a real beetle-y kind of looking thing.
More like, almost like a
centipede.
Yeah, almost like a centipede in a way.
Okay.
So.
And when you say it's large, are we talking, fills the entire tunnel or
it's
big
about
dog size?
It's about 10, 15 feet long.
Whoa.
How tall?
I don't know, probably about 4 feet tall when it's on its legs. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 4 feet tall. That sounds about right.
Is it dead?
Oh, no. But it's mad.
I'm sure
that's what we're going for.
And it's coming towards you now.
Come get some.
So why don't we go ahead and, declare your actions, and then we'll roll for initiative. So, Julie, since you're our guest, what are you going to do?
Well, since he's standing in the hallway in its way, my best bet right now is going to be get myself a good view and get ready to shoot with my bow. I'm assuming I have one since I have a proficiency.
Yes, you have a short bow.
Okay, that's probably my best bet to start with. Stay back and make sure I've got a clear view.
Okay,
once it
problem.
gets into range.
Okay, Vince?
I am going to throw my javelin at it. It's plus
Throw
1.
a javelin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Jason?
I'm going to cast invisibility on myself, and I'll be leaping backwards with readying my magical quarterstaff to attack if it comes forward.
Okay.
I'll be trying to step backwards out of. If there's enough time after I cast invisibility, I'll try to step backwards out of the path.
Okay. All right. So who's going to roll initiative for you guys first?
I've got my brand new precision dice.
Go ahead, Jason. Go ahead.
All right. Roll those precision
dice. Oh, we got a 6.
I got a 6.
Sorry, guys.
We're tied.
Weapon
Players
speed.
go first on a tie, so.
Right.
That's how I usually
you have
do
a
it.
clear shot there, Julie, so with your character.
Okay.
So why don't you go ahead and to Lyle. Go ahead and
let's see what I get here.
Are you well, I'll go ahead and you roll to hit and let me know what you got.
4.
A 4. Okay. Twang.
That's not even a question.
Yeah, your arrow ends up in the dirt wall.
Yeah.
Okay. Vince, go ahead and you're a 6th level fighter, right?
Yes.
All right, go
He's
ahead and roll the hit on that.
Pulling back and winging that javelin as hard as he can right between the bugs. No, I'm just going to hit the bug.
Okay.
And he rolls a 17. It's a plus 1, so 18.
Okay, let me just make a kind of a random roll here on something.
Let's see. Do I get
Okay.
a bonus? No, it'd be an 18 then, because I got also a plus 1 to attack. So
Right. Good. And go ahead and roll your damage. You did hit it. Yeah. Your javelin hits into the side of the creature and it makes this weird squealing noise again.
Nice. Let's see. 1d6. Okay. 5. Let's see. 15 points of damage. Wow.
15?
Yeah.
Wow.
Baby.
Holy shnikes. Nice hit. All right.
Grimthaw smash.
Javelin goes into the side of this creature with a nice smack, and you hear this squeal from the creature, and this kind of weird greenish fluid starts coming out of its body where it was hit.
Nice.
All right.
Bug
and
blood.
Jason, yes,
Icor.
bug blood.
Yes.
And Jason, you're casting your invisibility. So you're doing the art of not being seen.
How not to be seen?
How not to be seen.
The
Especially
larch.
Yes, the large. So, poof. So, you two are in combat, and suddenly the magic user cleric goes poof.
As
All
we
right,
have
now,
Magic User
let's
Cleric
see.
want to do.
Let's see who this creature
Holy crap! The creature can cast spells. No.
No, I'm saying, well, be lucky not, but he almost has something just as bad. Let's see who attacks. I'll say 1 to 3 Vince, 4 to 6 Julie. Vince, you are attacked.
Damn you.
It's up to you, and your armor class is what?
275 negative 0.
Oh, okay.
No, it's 0. 0.
0. I would say it still hits.
I didn't think we were playing Cinnabar.
Yeah, well, you know.
Oh, God,
No,
don't even
we're
go
just playing
there.
4th edition.
Oh,
Yeah.
and it missed. I rolled a 10. It missed you. It comes up to you, tries to take a chomp, and it just chomps into the dirt. So you get a really good look at this thing now. It's kind of has it's greenish overall on top with a strange kind of yellowish green underside, kind of purplish, multifaceted eyes like any other bug, multiple legs. It kind of looks like almost looks like a giant centipede, but just a little more insidious. So let's go ahead and have actions declared again. So Julie, you gotta try
Julie,
to hit this
before
thing
you say
again?
anything, let me ask you something. Do you say you're shooting arrows?
Yes.
Okay, because I can put flame arrow on your arrows. I can cast that. Might be
Ah.
Okay, so
Sure.
Okay,
Normally
so
I would say, do I know you can do that? But that's okay.
well, we've been we would have had a chance to talk about it. So just so you know, if you decide to do that, then that'll be my action that I'll do to go with it.
Let's go for it. Can I shoot more than one arrow in a round? Do I have a high enough skill or whatever?
I think a short bow, though, rate of fire actually is 2.
Yeah, with
I
the
thought
short bow,
so.
you're gonna be able to get one off. You'll always get your first shot off, and then the next one you'll end up.
Short bow rate of fire is 2 around.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And,
So you can
if
hit-
we're playing with that kind of initiative, then you'd be able to get the first one. You'd automatically get the first hit. But I don't know.
Okay.
That's up to the DM as to whether we're using those kind of rules.
Yeah. Well, it's up to
I
Nick.
just say rate of fire 2, and you roll for both of them.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
let's just do that. I'm going to go ahead and flame him if you can. I mean, if we've got
Absolutely.
time.
Yeah, you hear someone kind of poke on your shoulder. Let me light those on fire for you.
Roll versus shoot him in the face by mistake. No. So I'm going to aim in the general. I'm not going to take the time to aim specific, but I'm going to aim in the general direction of where I see eyes.
Okay, very cool.
I mean, presumably there is a head area. I'm not.
Yes,
I'm not
oh, yeah.
targeting specifically, like giving myself negatives, but I'm going in that area.
Oh, definitely has a head. Definitely has a head.
Okay.
So go
So
ahead.
first roll.
Well, wait.
Yeah.
Am I?
With the declare action still, we haven't.
Oh,
rolled
that's
them.
right. I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry. That's right. Sorry.
I need to know, does this creature regenerate?
How do you know?
You need to know that.
Well, because of the weapon I'm using, that's why.
You have no idea.
All right,
Actually,
then you're going to have to...
roll me a percentage. See if you maybe have heard or seen this creature before.
No, just when I roll my attack, I'll let you decide. But I'm using my bastard sword.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we'll have the missile weapons go first. So go ahead, do your 2 shots with the flaming arrows.
Okie dokie. First roll 11. Second roll 9. My THAC0's like 18.
What's a THAC0?
I think she meant THAC 0.
What's a THAC
Sorry.
0?
That's what first edition people say. THAC 0.
Never heard of it.
Yeah. Thwack. Miss. Yeah, both missed. Sorry.
Yeah. Flaming misses.
And I guess Vince, go ahead and with the bastard sword.
Okay. Well, it's a 15 if it's non-regenerating creature, and it's a 17 if it is a regenerating creature.
You hit.
Okay. And it does 2d4 plus 4. So that's 5 points of damage.
5 points of damage. This thing is still up, but it lets out a squeal again when it gets hit. And it does not appear to regenerate after you slice into the side of this creature.
Okay.
All right, let's see who it attacks now. Okay, let's see. Vince, you are attacked again because you heard it really bad already.
And I'm still far away at bow length.
Yes.
She's a tasty snack creature.
All right. Let's see if this hits this time. Yes, it does. And you are hit for 9 points of damage.
Oh.
And when you are hit, you feel not only the pain of the bite, but like this burning. You have this burning sensation.
Okay.
For an additional point, so 10 points total. Like when it bit, it squirted acid onto you.
Ow.
And
yeah.
So yeah, it definitely bit into you. It very much hurt. So. And I think Jason, you already did your action. You did the with the arrows. Okay. Yep. Well, new round. And Julie, are you going to continue with your arrows?
Yeah, because after seeing what happened to him, I don't want to get close enough to get bit.
As any good thief would do.
Exactly.
Vince, are you going to continue with the bastard sword?
Yeah, I'm going to hack this creature away from me.
Hack the creature away. And Jason?
Now, how big is it compared to the tunnel that it's in, you said?
This thing is approximately 15 feet long.
I mean, but it fills about half the tunnel as far as height goes?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, it's about 4 feet tall.
And width? How much is it of the tunnel does it fill width-wise?
3 feet, maybe.
It's about 3 feet wide?
Yeah.
Okay, and the tunnel's about how big?
10 feet.
10.
Oh, okay. Well, there goes that idea then.
Standard graph square.
Yeah, I was just going to see if
Standard graph square width. Exactly. The monster knew it.
Oh, okay then. So there goes my original idea of actually just enlarging the creature so that it gets jammed into the tunnel and unable to go anywhere. I think it's time for a good old-fashioned lightning bolt.
Ooh, okay. Roll that beautiful beam footage. Roll that lightning bolt.
Right?
Well, let's roll the initiative.
Yeah, initiative.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Boo, boo, boo. All right. Crud. Who's rolling for you guys?
I'll roll. 4.
I rolled a 3.
Woo!
All right.
Wait, it's low, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. Oh my goodness! It's going after the thief now. But in this case, though, and your armor class, I think, is 3 or 2.
Armor class is 2.
Okay. It kind of rears up, and it squirts acid in your direction out of its mouth.
I cartwheel out of the way.
Sure. Actually, considering the hit dice of this thing, it just missed you.
So you did cartwheel out of the way.
So you kind of did cartwheel out of the way. You kind of did a Jackie Chan kind of thing. And you see where the acid hit, it just dissolves all this dirt and stuff and debris.
Ow.
That would have been very nasty. Very nasty indeed. All right. So, still going to try to plink this thing with your bow? Julie?
Oh, yes. Yeah,
right,
what are we going to do? Try and get out?
Yeah, go ahead. 2 more shots.
Actually, I'm going to run up the debris and get out of the place. Get out of the hole. Get around.
Okay, so you're climbing up the up
Mm-hmm.
out of the hole.
Sounds like she has a plan.
Aha.
It's not much of a plan, but it's a plan.
It's a plan. All right, so you're like, the heck with this. I'm going to try something else. All right. Vince?
Well, I figure
you
it shouldn't even be a challenge for a thief to get out of this hole because of the debris and everything.
Yeah, there's plenty of good handholds and whatever. So you don't even have to make a climbing roll.
I am going to charge the creature and attack it like I was normally doing. And my roll
is
a 5.
And you miss.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And Jason... Okay. So you want to run up to it. You do your battle cry, swing, and miss. And Jason's character...
Unfortunately, that's about the same time I was casting the lightning bolt, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, this ought to be interesting, then.
Okay, so... so this is actually... Let me just check the area of effect here. The area of effect is...
Anybody
determined
but
by the
Grimthar.
spellcaster. It's a forking bolt, 1 square wide and 4 squares long. And so I don't know if Grimthar is going to get caught in the radius of this, but here comes 6d6 of damage.
Oh,
okay.
Yes.
Brings up that age-old question: how conductive is a bastard sword? No.
Yes. So,
we will soon find out.
Let's see here. There's 12, 15, 25 points of damage.
And I rolled it save for half, and I rolled a 1. So, wah, wah, wah. Yeah, I rolled a 1. Vince,
yeah,
you are lucky enough that you are the way of that. He kind of, when he shot his bolt, the creature, when you ran up to the thing, up to its head, and tried to take a swipe. When the lightning bolt went off, its body was perpendicular to the bolt, and the bolt cuts the thing right in half.
Sweet.
So,
okay.
So it's dead?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All right. So what was...
It only had 9 hit points left.
Never discount the power of a spellcast.
So what was the creature?
It was, if you look in your monster manual on page 6, the Ankh
good old number 1.
Yes.
It was
the
a...
Ankh head.
The what?
The Ankh head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're not going to discuss it this week.
Ankh.
Yeah, the Ankh head.
So next week we will talk about
we'll talk about the creature, and that's going to bring us out into our last segment of the night.
Just so you knew what I was trying to do. Even though I have a plan. I was going to get up behind it and try and backstab arrow down on the back of its head.
Could have worked.
So now
I did have a plan.
Now we're going into the last segment of the night.
Ooh, one of those electronic voting dealies.
So this is going to be the end of the show this week, and we're going to be saying goodbye to Julie, who's going back into audio drama land. But,
such a drama.
Yeah. But the poll of the week has still been on the site since before Gen Con, the one that Jason and Nick both were unsure about a live show. And actually, I don't have the webpage up right now, but I believe everybody was in a high admittance of wanting to listen to the show. So, unfortunately...
That's scary.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, Jason, you're going to have to sit there and be tortured while people listen to you and comment on every little word and hang on your every word one time at least. So maybe we'll do that sometime around Halloween when we reach our 1-year mark around there on the air.
Cool. That'd be cool.
Cool.
Oh, your guys' anniversary is at Halloween too? Cool, we should have a party.
Woo!
All right.
Anyway, so our closing thoughts for today. Anybody have any closing thoughts, words of wisdom for people out there? Nick?
Beware of traps. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
I'm sticking with it.
Jason, you wanted to mention that Jack Vance had a new book coming out. I remember you said.
Oh, right. I had the notes here. Matt just pulled them up for us a minute ago. Jack Vance. I was really excited to find this email in my box right before leaving for Gen Con. The Jack Vance, who I'm not sure how old he is. I know he's in his 90s, but really happy to see that he has actually written and released a new book. So it's called Hard Luck Diggings, and it's Further Adventures of Kugel, as I recall. I don't know if that's the exact title, but it's Kugel. He's back. And as soon as I've had a chance to get a copy and devour it, we will talk about it on the show.
Cool.
Okay. And Julie, what do you want to give a plug to your site and tell us a little bit about?
Oh, definitely. Come listen to 19 Nocturne Boulevard. Audio dramas are a great way to deal with your commute, and it's a lot of fun. The show ranges from horror to fantasy. We just had an episode called Dragon. I mean, a couple things are high fantasy, other things are low fantasy, horror, sci-fi, whatever I felt like writing that week. And there's a lot of audio drama out there you can find through links from my show.
Cool.
Yeah. You can
That
go
sounds
to
awesome.
Voice Actors Alliance, Voice Actors Guild, and Audio Drama, and there's tons and tons and tons. You can, yeah, tons and tons. There's just so many.
Audiodramatalk.com, yeah.
Would you say you had a plethora of dramas?
Yes.
You don't even know what a plethora is, do you?
No. That's going to sign us out for this week. Join us next week as we do something really cool. Keep it original and keep it old school. Have a good night, everybody.
Night, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Night. Thank you.
Roll for initiative.